Leading. He's done 11 laps once the track action was able to commence. A 1:30.020 from Fabio Quartararo, which is some pace actually. You were wondering what sort of condition the track would be in after some strong thunderstorms hit Valencia yesterday and would have washed away most of the weekend rubber. Well, that would have actually been the second fastest lap of the Grand Prix here on Sunday from Fabio Quartararo. So the track has rubbered in quite quickly, and there's already some decent times of 2026 beginning their prep for next season. We've seen Toprak Razgatlioglu venture out on the Pramac Yamaha. This is the first look we get then of Diogo Moreira starting his new chapter in his Grand Prix career on the LCR Honda. Just as it was this morning, it's Matt Burton Lewis sort of in the commentary box, Jack Appleyard down in pit lane, hoping to be joined.
As we remember, the story during the year has some different situation, no? So we had to manage also. The Jorge came back in Qatar, and then after we had immediately the crash and the problem. So we tried to react, exploiting the bike, the free bike that we had with Lorenzo. And to be honest, we tried to brought a different spirit in the garage that was not just to prepare the race weekend, but also in the race, in testing mode with the Lorenzo, no? And for example, several times we introduced some evolution in Marco sooner, exactly because we accelerate the process of development, not the debug.
Marco said in the press conference on Sunday, after he won the race, he felt like that he really started to feel comfortable and confident on the Aprilia around Assen time when he had the real big battle with Marc Marquez. Was there something that changed on the bike around that period of the season, or was it just Marco gaining more experience? Did you bring him some new material which helped make this switch and make him stronger?
Yeah, you know, in the process to try to somehow join the rider in the way that he can exploit the bike and to modify the bike to be suitable for the ride, so vice versa. We did some steps, but for example, recently after the sprint race in Portimao, we did some check after some comment of Marco, so we deeply investigated some area. We did just some modification of the electronic, and you saw the result that we had in Portimao and also here. We are using exactly the same tuning. So at the end, we never, during the season, we never brought something completely different, apart, as you notice, the package that we brought in Mugello in terms of aerodynamic and also some evolution to increase the power.
And obviously, the way you finished 2025, everybody now is looking at Aprilia, thinking, well, what is possible in 2026? This is only the first day right now of next season, but moving forward throughout the winter, what are the areas that you have identified and the riders have identified which you're looking to improve in 2026?
To be honest, I don't think that we have one area where we have to focus, but we have to maintain this process to try to evolve all the aspects of the bike. So several times we have to consider that apart, okay, there is the motorcycle, the rider, but it's like a black box, the company. You put your investment and exiting the result. So if you implement some method and you see that the result they are coming and you see the trend of in the way that the result they are coming, you have just pushing, increasing the efficiency in the way that you are producing solutions. So just to reply to your question, for sure we are working in the aerodynamic to increase the power, to develop the electronic, and also we have some evolution in the frame that will land to the track in Sepang reasonably.
And as we go through next season, picking up on something that Davide Brividio said to us here in the commentary box this morning, with the regulations change coming up for 2027, with the introduction of Pirelli, of course, ride height devices, the 850cc bikes, where is the balance between focusing on developing the 2026 package and focusing on the 2027 package? And I guess the two kind of go hand in hand, but at what point do Aprilia, I guess, switch focus from 2027, or has that perhaps come already?
Yeah, let me say you touched the point. That is the difficult item that a manager has to address, because you have a limited resources. To be honest, it's quite clear that in terms of engine, you have to be already in the way. Otherwise, you don't have time to react for the lead time that normally you have to simulate, design, and receive the component, not to procure the components of the engine. Basically, we are targeting to the beginning of the year, around, let me say, February, April, to have the bike with the first shakedown test and the first event with the 850 bike. In the meantime, we have also in our plan some prototype that we will bring to the what we call the rolling bench, to try to simulate the shifting and the electronic behavior and everything. So basically this is the plan.
You mentioned earlier, Fabiano, about the influence of the remote garage back in Nawali, which we've known for many, many years is quite a common thing in Formula One. Do you think now that the remote garage scenario is becoming more important, more crucial in MotoGP, and just how much do you rely on and how much do you use the remote garage during a race weekend?
Yeah, we use quite a lot. Honestly, I don't want to explain in the way that we are organized. But to be honest, let me be pragmatic. You know, one of the reasons why we have the remote garage in Formula One is for budget reason, and also in our side we use this remote garage because for sure you are much more focused and less distracted to the activity, the rush that you have on the track. So you can manage in a better way the analysis. Then we have some alignment with a specific organization. But in the meantime, the budget reason is exactly the reason why we organize in this way with the proper structure to transfer the data, because especially after the COVID time.
First and foremost, he has come very, very close in 2025 already. As we look to the future, there's no question that Acosta does not get what he wants from the 2026 spec RC16. He will start looking elsewhere. He's already in 2 seasons of MotoGP, 41 starts in the MotoGP class. He's been on the podium in 10 of them on a Sunday. If you include sprints too, he's had 21 podiums, of which 9 are second places.
He's going to hate me for reminding him of this. 10 Grand Prix podiums now is the second highest history without a rider winning a Grand Prix. Colin Edwards has that record, the unwanted record. 12 times Colin stood on the MotoGP podium and wasn't able to find a victory. This time last year when Alex Marquez first threw his leg over that GP24 Ducati at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, well, he had a smile as wide as downtown Barcelona, because he knew that that was the bike that was going to change his career, and it did, didn't it? Alex Marquez had a great winter, topped that Barcelona test in November. He was fastest at the Sepang test in February, and it was a platform which he built on to use to deliver his best Grand Prix season. I don't think too many people at the start of the year would have been backing Alex to have been second in the World Championship. More power to him. 27 podiums Alex finished this season with, 11 more Grand Prix podiums than what he managed the previous year on the Gresini Ducati. Hard to really find anybody that made such a massive leap forward in terms of performance. But as Jack mentioned when he was having a chat with Alex earlier on today, he has got the upgrade. He'll be on a factory GP26 or whatever designation it will be from the Borgo Panigale factory next year. And we're second in the World Championship, 3 Grand Prix victories. There's more pressure, there's more expectation on the shoulders of Alex to deliver perhaps a more sustained championship challenge next year. And he's also going to have a part to play and a big say in the development of next year's Ducati. Likewise, this man as well, Pecco Bagnaia, who's now got up to 3rd with a 129.84. 6-3 riders now doing sub-130s.
Yeah, of course, the bike that Alex Marquez has been on is fighting with Marc Marquez at the front of races in Buram in Argentina. That was still even a new experience for Alex Marquez in MotoGP. Yes, he's a world champion in Moto3 and Moto2, but hadn't been used to leading Grand Prix in MotoGP and having to deal with that sort of pressure. He certainly belongs there now. Some of the most memorable moments of the season involving Alex Marquez winning at home at Jerez, winning the Catalan Grand Prix 2 in front of his home fans after he crashed out of the sprint a day earlier. And another superb performance in Malaysia, securing the runner-up place in the World Championship in the sprint on this Saturday afternoon before following that up with victory in the Grand Prix itself. Alex Marquez, part of a golden season for Gresini. He took the runner-up spot as Marco Bezzecchi goes straight on into turn 2. And Fermin Aldeguer, the Rookie of the Year. With an update on the Rookie of the Year, we can head down to Jack in pit lane.
Yeah, as he, no, that's Ai Ogura actually. I was going to say just flies past us down the start-finish straight. But Aldeguer now out there on the GP25 for the very first time. The much talked about GP25. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of a standard Aldeguer can set. He's out there with the full 25 aero package. Those slightly revised wings, the bigger downwash ducts, the slightly increased rear aero as well. Looks as though he's got the 25 whole shot device, which some have said is the root of Bagnaia's troubles in 2025. So we'll see what he can do. But it's maybe not the first time he's sampled the 25 engine, because there was a lot of talk at the start of the year when we were in Sepang that Ducati were in such a hole with regards to trying to find out whether to stick with the 25, go with the 24, that Aldeguer and Morbidelli, who of course were contracted to be on 12-month-old machines, were actually given the engine for an afternoon to try and just get some more data, some more knowledge, some extra insight from different riders with a different perspective. So it's not going to be completely new to Aldeguer, because the rumours are that right at the start of the year for an hour or so he was given a chance to try Ducati's 25 items.
Yeah, thanks very much. I don't know if Marco Bezzecchi might have a problem here, because we saw him run wide into turn 2 on the previous lap, and now he's gone in hot into the first corner. I don't know whether he was maybe having a look down at the shifter there, whether he's got some kind of shifting issue, gear selector problem, or maybe something wrong with the gearbox. But Bezzecchi aborted the previous lap at turn 2, and you can just see him there running off at the first corner. Yeah, Fermin did a couple of years ago. Aldeguer, second youngest rider ever to win in MotoGP history, but since that fantastic day, what a day it was over in Mandalika, not able to find another podium, either a sprint or a Grand Prix in the last 4 rounds, was the 20-year-old. Although
the RC16, he's just set his personal best on that last lap now, 1:29.95. Maverick Vinales up inside the top 10. Jorge Martin, he's done 28 laps, the other recent returnee from injury. And one wonders how much we will see of Jorge Martin in the remaining 94 minutes of running.
By the time Herrera finishes his stint today, the first thing he's going to be saying is, crikey, I need to spend a bit more time in the gym on the old weights, building up some muscle mass over the winter testing program, because these MotoGP bikes, well, they are a completely different beast to what he's been used to riding. Really good point there, wasn't it, made by his new team boss, Lucio Cecchinello. As long as it's got 2 wheels and an engine, it doesn't really matter what you stick underneath Herrera. He will somehow find a way to make it work and make it go very, very fast indeed. So strong across multiple disciplines in 2-wheel motorsport, which certainly bodes well as far as Herrera's future is concerned. Let's not forget, our second chapter of 2026 will be in his home country, March 22nd. We're all looking forward to our first visit to the great South American nation. First time we'll be down there in 22 years, as Joan Mir has got some kind of problem on this development RC213V. Just having a look down at his right boot. Marco Bezzecchi might have got a phone. Well, he certainly would have seen what was going on there with Mir, as might be distracted there as well, there, Bezzecchi. Yeah. He was just trying to maybe check what was happening with Mir. He's just run off circuit seconds later.
Yeah, the calendar for next season, as Matt mentioned, Brazil round 2 at the Autodromo Internacional Ayrton Senna. That's 3 weeks after the season opener, 27th, 28th of February and the 1st of March for the Thai Grand Prix next season. Before we go to Austin and Qatar, as always, the first European round of the season is the Jerez circuit in southern Spain. Barcelona follows the French Grand Prix. We go to Mugello. Of course, Hungary slightly earlier next season. That's on the first weekend of June the 7th, before Brno and Assen and the Sachsenring take us into the summer break. Silverstone moves back to its traditional August slot, followed by Aragon, Misano, and the final European slot before we head over to Asia is the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring. That moves to late September for a very familiar look to the end of the season. Japan, Indonesia, Australia, Malaysia, before we complete the season in Portugal and here in Valencia.
Bezzecchi's gone top. A 1:29.400 has put Marco Bezzecchi fastest on the leaderboard. Well, one of the most interested observers about Toprak Razgatlioglu's first public outing on the V4 M1 is his boss, somebody who knows him better than anybody. Is Kenan Sofuoglu, 5-time World Supersport champion. What has he made of his rider's first day, Jack?
Yeah, we're just on pit wall with Kenan outside the Prima Pramac Yamaha box. So far, so good, I think we can say, Kenan.
I think we have to be happy with this because, you know, there was a last weekend race and everybody warm up on the track, and Toprak is a new bike, new track, and new challenge is not easy, but he's doing well at the moment.
Obviously, we weren't at the Aragon test where he had his chance to try it for the first time. How did that go?
I think the Aragon is just about the meeting with the team, meeting with the bike to understand how he can sit on the bike. And this is like more realistic testing, but you know, Yamaha is in a new chapter. They are changing the complete bike and they move to V4. And I think everything is new for a whole Yamaha group. But for Toprak, he's like, you know, just learning. But to me, when I'm watching this, I think he's managing well at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. You can already see he's trying to find the limits with that front tyre, a couple of mistakes here and there, but that's going to happen. As you mentioned, it's a new bike, new team, new circuits, including this one as well. What do you think could be the biggest challenge for him?
Honestly, you know, when you look to lap times, he's around 1.5 seconds slow. But when I watch him, I'm not watching like our Toprak. You know, he's like a bit scared because there's not many bikes at the moment. V4 is just only one for Toprak, and you know he's careful at the moment. He's very scared at the moment. Mistake, but still he's there. Probably after a couple of testing, we will see the real Toprak stopping on the brake and sliding and pushing harder. At the moment, without pushing, I can see how he ride the bike. He's doing great. I mean, there's a lot to go. I'm very positive about what he's doing at the moment.
That's what we all want to see. A few people have suggested it might not be possible for Toprak's braking style to translate to a MotoGP bike, but even with the Michelin tyres, even with the aerodynamics as they are, do you think we could still see him having that strength, that braking power on a MotoGP machine?
A lot of people thinking in MotoGP, but he can't. But everybody will see he will do same things, because also before he came to Superbike, nobody was driving like him, nobody was riding like him. And for sure he will surprise everybody what he can do on the bike, because he's always surprising us. Now people see in the MotoGP paddock, he will surprise a lot of people, because you know he has this skill, he understands very much. At the moment, like watch on the video, you can understand he don't push at the moment. He's just riding a bike, try to understand. This is the way you start. This is not we don't push him to crash and to be in the top of the list. We push him just learn and slow down and be careful not crash the bike. And there time is coming, we will push him, but at the moment just we are learning a lot of things about this tire, this bike and these championships.
Has he got any targets going into next year, anything that he would like to achieve?
Of course, in MotoGP for new challenges, difficult to say something, but of course, there's still there's 4 Yamaha bike and we want to be top of the list. It is a hard challenge because Fabio is one of the best riders in the paddock, and if we can battle with him, this is our target for the first season.
Kenan, great to see you here. I'm glad to see that the day is going well so far, and look forward to catching up in 2026.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Thanks very much, Jack. Thanks to Kenan. Well, that was nice to get a tour around the Ricardo Tormo circuit from Pekka Bagnaia. We're going to be hoping to maybe bring you a few more onboard laps as we close out our coverage of this Valencia test on a slightly tweaked schedule to accommodate the lost track time we had this morning. We are going to be on air until 17:50 local time here in Spain. The track will be open for another hour and 23 minutes. We are going, initial plan was to halt proceedings at 5 p.m, but we're going for that extra half an hour, which will be welcome for our rookies in particular. Here is Razgatlioglu, 40 laps in the books and now for Toprak. Low 1:31 is his best work. Yeah, this is all just about getting some confidence, and as Kenan Sofuoglu mentioned there, at the back of Toprak's mind at the moment right now is he doesn't want to do anything silly. throw that new V4 down the road when they are in such short supply. So yeah, he's keeping plenty in reserve here, isn't he, the Turk?
Yeah, it is usually a bit of a rite of passage as a rookie in MotoGP to crash on the first day of testing, because we do see that a lot. But clearly Toprak is leaving a little bit of margin out there. Doesn't want to damage one of these very experimental, I guess you could phrase it. Certainly a Yamaha in the early stages of its development. Jorge Martin, who is continuing to put laps in, up to 34 laps now for the 89. He's now been given a run out on the brand new Aprilia Aero. And it's exactly for moments like this that Martin did stop short of the checkered flag on Sunday here at the Valencia Grand Prix, so he could take a full part in the test here today. Across the two factory riders, Bezzecchi and Martin, the two factory Aprilia riders now have completed over 80 laps between them.
Shot and a half that, wasn't it? Martin, knee and elbow scraping on the tarmac as he was going through the right-hander of turn 11. There was a little bit of talk, maybe, wasn't there, that he might revert back to the 88 that he's used previously in Grand Prix racing. Of course, now Miguel Oliveira has departed MotoGP. That 88 is sparing up for grabs, but Martin opting to continue with his 89, which he was running most recently before he had the #1 plate. But I'm sure that the nerves have been eased. The butterflies are under control now inside Diogo Moreira's stomach as he leaves pit lane for what is going to be his 39th lap of the session.
Underwear changed also. First on what Lucio Cecchinello said to us earlier on today. It's fair to say the Honda RC213V caught Diogo's attention when he first rode it earlier on today. As we now follow the young Sao Paulo star through turn 4, we now pick up Pedro Acosta, whose footsteps Moreira has really followed in the footsteps of. There's Acosta, who was Rookie of the Year in 2022 Moto2 before taking the title a year later in 2024 and 2025. That's exactly the path that Moreira went on.
Oh, Acosta. Pedro Acosta was almost wrecking some of that nice new carbon fibre bodywork on that KTM. He has done really, really well to stay upright there as Acosta. He said throughout the course of the Grand Prix weekend he was having a lot of front locking going into that turn 8. Run through the gravel trap and back on full power as you expected he would be, but that was close. That was close to a big front end washout for Acosta. As you go through that kink, it's known as turn 7, but it's more of just a high-speed kink. You're up to about 5th gear there, 250 kilometres now. Then you're decelerating 3 gears for turn 8, down to 2nd gear, about 90 clicks. So, yeah, bit of a heart-in-the-mouth moment there for Pedro Acosta. The KTM Aero team will be relieved that that bodywork is still intact.
Yeah, and Danny Pedrosa, whose hair is still his natural colour, rather than the orange he was in danger of dyeing it into when Pedro Acosta was chasing victory of the weekend. Looking on, Acosta now makes his way towards turn 12. This is could potentially be his best lap time of the day, this, for the 37, who is on his 34th lap of the day. With a good lap coming in from Toprak further back as we follow Acosta through the final corner, and we'll drop down to Jack in just a second to see if this lap does lift the 37 up the order. Final corner safely negotiated. The KTM enters a part of a racetrack where it's always very strong when it's going in a straight line. Acosta to 1:29.8. He stays in 3rd. Toprak across the line, and he climbs 2 places now, just a 1 1/4 off the pace in 18th place. For an update on Pedro Acosta, we can go down to Jack.
Yeah, I've just seen Brad Binder as well just come down pit lane with that new side fairing. A lot was made in Austria when they introduced this new front fairing, and comparisons were quite obviously made instantly with just how similar it looked to what Ducati had been running for the past couple of years. Well, it looks as though they've copied that same formula once again, because that side fairing, whether it be the downwash ducts on the side, whether it be the ground effect style, are very much a replica of what the GP24 Aero is. So KTM have obviously been trying to catch Ducati, and it feels as though their aero package is very much influenced and based on that. Down further at pit lane, obviously we had Fabiano Sterlachini in the box, who was speaking about the importance of aerodynamics in MotoGP now, and ever since it came in and this new era sort of developed and evolved, Aprilia have always been right at the forefront, whether it be the first ground effect style fairings, it was Aprilia that introduced it, whether it was the rear aero, it was Aprilia that took a huge step with that, to the point of which we see a lot of manufacturers come
top speed. Well, I wonder if Santa Claus inside the factory Aprilia garage has duly obliged. Maybe it's a wedding gift that he's asking for as well. Let's not forget, here on a Sunday after the main Grand Prix, he dropped down onto one knee. It's been love at first sight as far as Bez and the factory Aprilia team are concerned. A marriage made in heaven. Thankfully, Bezzecchi said that the RSGP did say yes. This was all the bet that he'd had an agreement to deal with Massimo Rivola. He said to the Aprilia boss, if I win 3 Grand Prix in 2025, I am keeping the bike. I've got space for it at my home in Italy. And I think that space will be filled very, very quickly by Aprilia's most successful ever RSGP.
Guess we'll rename him Jingle Bez if you want to follow the festive puns back at home. Sure you can do better than that. Diogo Moreira, he's now put up 45 laps on his first day. They really have done a good job, haven't they, of making up for lost time, given that we essentially didn't see anything for the first 2.5 hours of the day. Diogo Moreira, 45 laps. That is around about a Grand Prix distance and a half in MotoGP that Moreira has put together. And you can see already some minor cosmetic damage just to the belly pan of that factory Honda as Diogo Moreira is putting it through its paces.
You can see those covers as well on the front brake disc, just helping keep some temperature in the disc here in these cool conditions. Yeah, Moreira, it's been a pretty faultless opening day as far as he's concerned. He had to be patient, he had to play the waiting game before he could venture out on circuit. Alex Marquez then, 6th run of the day for him completed. He did 5 laps in it. 130.8, 130.7, 130.7. So a consistent pace there from Alex, and this is already a big indication of just his increasing involvement, his raised profile and stature inside the factory. Ducati campus, look at all those red engineers. I mean, Gresini do get great support. Alex has spoken frequently of the fantastic support he does get from Ducati. But now they're leaning on him to be one of their key developers with this GP26. I mean, what was there? Half a dozen factory engineers, and right in the thick of it was Gigi Dall'Igna, hanging on the every word of the 73.
Yeah, if you just wanted to go some way to understanding the difference between essentially being a factory-supported rider and being a true independent, and that is one of the reasons, just the sheer manpower inside the box. Surrounded by technicians who hang on your every word, because every word you utter is going to contribute towards the development of their motorcycle as they look to continue their stranglehold on MotoGP into 2026. Marco Bezzecchi has just returned to the pits, as we saw. We now have his teammate Jorge Martin on track. Down at Aprilia is Jack.
Yeah, and we've been talking about this new rear aerodynamics concept that Aprilia have introduced. Now, obviously, because there's so much different aero floating around, the team have got to come up with code words so they can easily understand which type of aerodynamics package we're talking about. So right now I'm reliably informed that the 2025 concept with the Stegosaurus wings is called Asterix, mode Asterix, and then this new one, not this one that Jorge Martin is currently on with the bigger rear wing, that one they're still yet to come up with a name for, but the radically new one is called Oblix. So Asterix and Oblix. So if we ever hear an Aprilia technician or anybody using those words, we know it's in reference to rear aero, so they can very easily understand in the box which one they're talking about during debriefs.
I was going to say they might be able to use Rubik's, because that's the name of Bezzecchi's dog, isn't it? But maybe that would be too much of a giveaway. So yeah, try and crack the code then down there, Jack. Yeah, good stuff as always. Aprilia, they have been very, very busy, haven't they? As you can see with this new aero, certainly a radical departure from what we've seen them run towards the tail end of 2025. Jorge Martin, I have to say I'm quite surprised that the Martin is still circulating here. Well, there's a bit of a shake of the head there as he goes into turn 2. He's going to be mentally and physically a bit drained right now, isn't he, is Martin. He didn't go the full race distance here on Sunday. Jorge has done 34 laps. His crew chief Daniele Romagnoli looking on. I don't expect to see maybe Jorge go the full distance here this afternoon, but doing a good job as Nicolo Buliga has put himself up into 7th. Good lap that by Buliga, yeah, 129.862, less than half a second behind Marco Bezzecchi.
Aprilia doing qualifying earlier on in the weekend, Valencia Grand Prix. I don't think he got himself out of the 130s, did he? Looking at his qualifying time, he did a 1:30.045, did Aprilia. And yeah, while we see on often pre-season or post-race test, we see a track with 3-4 days of rubber already on it. That's not really the situation we're in today. The track was completely washed by a large thunderstorm yesterday, so in many respects this is a day one track surface that the riders are circulating around. So Aprilia get to be in the 29s and just a tenth of a second behind his teammate Apakah Bagnaia. Whatever configuration, whatever tyres he's running on, that is not a shabby lap time at all, and Aprilia is going even quicker now on his second lap. Aprilia running the number 16 on his factory Ducati today, of course, with Moreira now running 11. I don't think you'll be getting many dissenting voices when I tell you that Nicola Aprilia.
Good news, his recovery. How much of an impact going to the Sepang test do you think that will have on Mark's plan? Will it take him a little bit longer than usual to get up to speed with the new items?
I think Mark is always important to have him with us, but you know, I'm sure that the work that Alex, Bulligan, and Pecco are doing is good. So the feedback that they give to the engineers give us already some advice. So it's good. We are happy. We are happy also for Bulligan that more than the last two races because now it's more relaxed. You know, we knew that he was going to his best laps during the test.
Interesting that you mentioned Alex there first. How much of a key role is he playing today in getting this 2026 Ducati up to as good a standard as possible?
Yeah, it's obvious that Alex today was under the focus, under the lights, because his feedback from the previous bike to the new one, it's very, very important for us for a development, and he did a good job, did good feedback. So I think we have something to work on during the winter.
It looks as though Pecco has just gone down at the moment at turn 2, but he's up and he's okay. He spoke to us early in the weekend and said, whatever Ducati bring me on Tuesday, it's not going to help my feeling. That's quite a negative thing to say. It's quite alarming going into next year, don't you think?
Yeah, but it seems that his time are not so bad. So unfortunately he crashed, but he was now trying to have a fast lap. But yeah. I think that Pecco found his way again because he's there, he's consistent, so we are happy.
Pecco finding his way, is that next year fighting for victories on a more regular basis, or is it getting him to fight for the championship? Because it feels as though it's going to be a big step to get to that championship battle, given how he finished the year.
Yeah, I know that it was a very tough year for him, but we were confident that during the we was going to find something, and we did. He's there with all the other Ducati and of course the top guys. Yeah, I think that this crash is because he was really confident, too much confident in his bike, and he was trying to have a very fast lap. But anyway, we are happy about his feedback of today and that he of his speed.
Just finally, I imagine over the last few Christmases, Davide, you slept quite well, knowing the position of strength Ducati had, but will Aprilia keep you up at night over the Christmas months?
I think that we have to be really focused, not enjoying too much this championship, focus on 2026 because it seems that opponents are growing a lot, they have very fast riders too, so we are really focused on having some new parts for Sepang because we need to improve the bike.
Thanks, Davide.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, as always, to factory Ducati boss Davide Tardozzi. Apakah Bagnaia has been able to get that crashed Ducati up and running. So he ended 2025 in the gravel trap. He starts 2026 in the gravel as well, unfortunately. Does the factory Ducati style. Let's go back down to Jack.
Yeah, interesting what Davide was saying there. And actually, I think the Ducati box will be quite pleased to see Pecco crashing, especially in a manner like that, because, as he said, that is a sign that he's got confidence through the front end and he's willing to push to try find the limit of it once again, because so often in the latter half of the year, he just hasn't been anywhere near the limit, which is why we've seen him way outside of the top 10. So a strange thing to say, but you could tell Davide was almost quite pleased to see that Pecco was pushing that front end and obviously had found the limit.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the intriguing aspects, isn't it, of winter testing. Will Bagnaia get his mojo back? Will he recover his best form? There's a bit of a moment here, wasn't there, as we're on board with Fabio Quartararo. This is going through turn 3. Steady on, Fabio. We know that you like to attack and push hard on a factory Yamaha, but yeah, just a...
Well, he's already lost his voice, and he nearly lost his bike through turn 3.
Grabbed his attention, that one, didn't he? Look at his right foot here as he goes through 3. Over 150 kilometres an hour at that point around Valencia.
Yeah, I guess from Fabio Quartararo's point of view, it's all about having a clear head over the next few months. Perhaps not making any rash decisions too early, because ultimately the peak of the performance of this V4 Yamaha will not be extracted today. And I think we're all waiting, as Fabio is, to see when Yamaha will finally inject the full 100% of performance into this V4 powered machine. They are being very, very cautious with it, which to a certain extent you can understand, because they don't want the public embarrassment of seeing the bike blow up on the racetrack. But we've certainly seen Honda taking more risks in 2025 to extract performance from their bike, and it has worked. Fabio Quartararo will be expecting Yamaha to do the same.
We've got to do something just to motivate Quartararo, just to show him that there is some tangible progress. Not exactly looking particularly happy as he comes into the garage at the end of that 7th run.
That's a nice kit, doesn't it?
It was an aborted 7th run after that mistake that he made, or that scare that he had going through turn 3. It's hard to believe, isn't it, Fabio Quartararo not winning in MotoGP since the Saxon Ring all the way back in 2022. Yamaha this season had just 7 top 6 finishes in Grand Prix. Fabio Quartararo scored 6 of them. The only other rider on the Yamaha that found himself in the top 6 was Jack Miller very early on at round 3 in Austin in Texas.
Of course, as mentioned earlier on in the day, Yamaha are staying here for another day of testing tomorrow. That will be behind closed doors, as we've commentated on quite enough testing for one day. So both Fabio Quartararo and Alex Rins and the Pramac team of Toprak, Razgatlioglu and Jack Miller sticking around for testing, and as has been revealed this afternoon, they will have an extra special guest joining them as well, with Ifan Guevara being granted a present for his first Moto2 victory on the Blue Crew Pramac Yamaha Boscoscuro Moto2 on Sunday, that he'll be given a brief run out in a Yamaha M1 tomorrow.
So Pecco Bagnaia at the moment down in 9th place, 129.731. Best we've seen from Pecco. Ai Ogura, after shades of brilliance in his rookie season. Davide Brivio, the message loud and clear when he spoke to us in the commentary box earlier today. He expects to see both of his riders locked inside that top 10 pretty much at every Grand Prix next year. We're expecting another step forward from Raul in particular. Davide said he was the clear #1 rider in that Trackhouse team this year. He'll be expected to be pushed a bit harder next time out in 2026 by Ogura. He will just be looking to keep himself fit and healthy, which wasn't the case for much of the season. A leg fracture really did halt his early progress at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Of course, expectations really soared, didn't they, after Ogura's brilliant debut in the MotoGP World Championship over in Buriram. 5th place in Thailand was the best result by a rookie on debut since Marc Marquez was 3rd in Qatar all the way back in 2013. I don't think Ogura was getting sort of carried away at that point. He was keeping his feet firmly on terra firma, but I don't think it really helped it. I mean, as stupid as it sounds to say, like the 5th place was wonderful. What a way to introduce himself into MotoGP, but of course, it naturally, from fans and from media, it sort of did bring maybe that early in the season some unwanted spotlight on Ogura.
Yeah, I don't want to describe it as an anomaly, because that would be being unkind to Ai Ogura, but we obviously have to add the context of the fact that they had tested in Buriram a couple of weeks prior to that first Grand Prix. So in many respects, it was the first day on Friday was almost, you know, an FP3 of some sorts for Ai Ogura. Did have already some very recent track knowledge. Of course, the rookie well prepared, having done about 5 or 6 days of testing at Sepang, with the shakedown test preceded by the official test. So he certainly was in the groove when the season got underway. He also went very well at Sepang. That's the Malaysian Grand Prix when he was top of Aprilia at the end of the season. So you can certainly say on the 2 circuits that Ai Ogura had previously ridden in MotoGP that he did do a very fine job, but it was all part of the rookie experience for Ai Ogura this season. Fast, but also some very fast crashes. Broke his leg at Silverstone when he crashed coming through turn 2. Of course, he went down at Cavone, famously at Misano, and there are a few more fast crashes than that across the Grand Prix calendar, which ultimately contributed to Ai Ogura missing his home race, the Japanese Grand Prix at Motegi. So as fast as Ai Ogura has been on occasions, I guess showing his inexperience, which you can not exactly blame him for. We have seen many a rookie have a fast crash or two as they understand truly where the limits are on these machines.
Yeah, and that monster high side he had at Assen as well, which really rattled his cage. One of the biggest crashes we saw throughout the whole of 2025. Yeah, Buriram was as good as it got eventually and ultimately for the 24-year-old Japanese rider. A season best 5th in the Grand Prix, a season best 4th in the sprint to open his account in the MotoGP World Championship. He did finish in the point scoring places 13 times in his rookie campaign. That included 2 top 6 finishes. Yeah, plenty more to come, no doubt about it. He's far too good a rider not to build on what at the moment looks like a very, very competitive Aprilia package. Brad Binder then getting to grips with the new KTM and getting to grips with his new crew chief, Phil Marron. He's now working on some of that development, new RC16 aero.
Of course, that's not the current aero spec that Brad Binder is currently running. You might have seen a very bare-looking RC16 a moment ago. That's from earlier in the day. There you go. There's the current version of aero that Brad Binder has on board that KTM.
Binder, tough season in the shadow for so much of it by Pedro Acosta. Podiumless for the first time in his MotoGP career in 2025 was the South African Will Phil Marron, the crew chief change. It injects some fresh impetus into Binder's challenge. Best Grand Prix result was a 4th place in Mandalika. His best sprint result was in front of the Austrian management, a 5th at the Red Bull Ring. There were Grand Prix points finishes are plenty. He did finish in the points in 18 of our 22 Grand Prix, but top 6s were very few and far between as far as Binder was concerned, and qualifying really was a big issue for him as well. 17 times this year Binder did not get out of Q1. So we mentioned about how Aldeguer really needs to step it up in terms of time attacks next season. Well, Binder certainly is in that club as well.
So often we heard him just speaking of not taking the step forward that he or we expected from him on a soft tyre in time attack mode. So much of MotoGP nowadays is dictated and decided by what goes on over a single lap on a Friday afternoon and on a Saturday morning. Because as good as Binder is at rampaging through the field from poor qualifying, you can't expect to rely on that on a regular basis. We have had some personal bests come in. Binder, one of them. He's now into the mid-29s. 129.711 has put him 9th. Diogo Moreira, he's also recently improved on his 53rd lap of the day. Of the 55 he's now completed. Moreira is now within 2 seconds of the outright pace. A 131.197 puts him 1.8 back of Raul Fernandez now.
Yeah, that'll do nicely as far as the rookie is concerned. Joan Mir goes through the seamless shift gearbox on the factory Honda. The rider's briefly in top gear. And that start-finish straight here. Very, very tight. It's 4.005 kilometres, this Valencia circuit, just 2.489 miles. So yeah, it's for only a brief moment where these MotoGP bikes really do get to stretch their legs down that start-finish straight. Let's have a listen to, well, I was going to say, let's have a listen to Joan Mir. Yeah, we did very, very briefly for about half a second, which is coincidentally the gap between the top 11 in this session. Let's go down to Jack.
Yeah, joined by Celestino Vietti, fresh from MotoGP debut. Cele, how was it?
Really the best day of my life. An incredible experience. I really enjoy it every lap, and also was really funny. I don't expect you arrive like the double faster, so really, really nice, and I hope in the future I can ride more.
Well, I guess now the ambition is there to make sure you get your own bike in the future.
Yes, for sure. So I have to do something to achieve it.
Well, great to see you out there today. Hopefully it's not the last time, Chile.
Thank you so much.
Best day of his life. Wonderful, great stuff that, Jack, to get Celestino Vietti, who I'm sure has his mind blown after he did 24 laps on that Ducati GP24. Lovely, unexpected present coming his way from VR46, inviting him to make his MotoGP debut in the absence of Frankie Morbidelli. And maybe, just maybe, he will be on our MotoGP grid in 2027. All down to how he performs in Moto2 next year, isn't it? There's no doubting that Celestino Vietti is a top-notch talent. Struggled on the Boscascura, a bit of an inconsistent Boscascura, wasn't it, throughout 2025. The highlight clearly is brilliant victory in front of his home crowd in Misano. He's debriefing to the HRC engineers is Joan Mir, just a whisker outside of that top 10 at the moment. He is the last rider behind Raul Fernandez to be lapping within half a second of the Trackhouse rider.
That may change shortly as Joan Zarco is setting some personal best sectors at the moment. We'll keep an eye on the Frenchman's progress as Fabio Di Gianantonio tackles turn 2. So that Digia now has, at least on the road, taken 2 podiums at, even if he only got to keep one of them. He's now through turn 4 and into the heart of 5. Zarco is on course to potentially move himself up to maybe 11th or 12th if he can keep this lap going. Digia now is into 6th, and it is 12th for Joan Zarco. 1:29.894. So we've got Aprilia 1 and 2, Ducati 3rd, KTM 4th, Ducati 5th, KTM 6th, Ducati 7th and 8th, Digia and Buliger, KTM 9th with Binder, and Ducati 10th, Bagnaia. The first of the Hondas is Joan Mir in 11th. The Hondas are 11th, 12th and 13th, the 3 of them with experienced riders on them, Mir, Zarco and Marini. First of the Yamahas, that's Fabio Quartararo, which won't surprise many of you. Half a second off the pace in 14th place. A pair of further Aprilias, Ogura and Martin, and the KTM of Bastianini. Toprak is 18th. The second of the Yamahas, which is no small achievement. Ahead of Alex Rins and Jack Miller. And Diogo Moreira on the final Honda, 21st. 1.8 off the pace. Jorge Lorenzo can't get enough of his MotoGP action as he's getting some trackside footage. And he might be a busy man. We might see plenty of Jorge Lorenzo in the paddock. Those are his comments speaking. Well, those are the comments of Maverick Vinales speaking about Jorge to Jack Appleyard earlier on this morning, looking to try and find perhaps a little bit of added impetus and added experience to help him become a better MotoGP rider. And there are a few better riders to seek the wisdom of than the 3-time MotoGP champion, Jorge Lorenzo.
Former foes on track, united to try and get Vinales back onto the top step of the podium in 2026. Alex Marquez having a bit of a late flurry here. So he puts in some more mileage on that kind of hybrid 24-25 Ducati. Alex now down to a 1:29.457. Close top 3 once again, just 800 splitting the top 3. It was a wonderful moment, wasn't it, at that gala evening on Sunday night, taking place just outside of the Valencia paddock. Around 2,500, 3,000 MotoGP fans were able to be in attendance, and Marc Marquez, when he was called up to receive the Tower of Champions for the 7th time in his career, he called on brother Alex to join him. He called on Father Julia and Mother Rosaire also to stand on the stage. 3 people who really did witness close up and first hand just how tough the road back to the top has been for Mark. It was a beautiful gesture, barely a dry eye in the house, was there, as the Marquez family toasted what has been an historic season. Never before in Grand Prix history had 2 brothers finish 1st and 2nd in a Grand Prix. Well, that was a stat corrected at round 1 in Thailand when Mark led home Alex. And at that stage of the campaign, I don't think there was too many people who thought more history would beckon for the brothers as they became our first siblings ever to finish first and second in a championship. Hard to accomplish and hard to repeat, you feel, in the face of some stiff competition emerging next season.
And hard to truly understand how much it means to that family. Spoke to Alex Marquez back in Hungary and asked him how much it would mean, and he said it would mean absolutely everything to secure that achievement, which Alex Marquez did wrap up with plenty to spare when he secured second in the championship on the Saturday of the Malaysian Grand Prix, when he took a second place and a silver medal in the sprint, which secured second overall.
They're surely at the top of the leaderboard. How much did that cost Aldeguer, that moment he had going through the far corner? Half a second and a little bit more. So still our fastest rider on day one of 2026 is Raul Fernandez. Jack, down to you guys.
Yeah, Mystic Fernandez. We were watching it on the big screen over to our right, and he said, don't worry, he's going to lose it in the final sector. And good news is, you're still top of the timesheets, Raul.
Yeah, but this is not really important. I mean, we have a lot of data from the GP, so here today we had a lot of work with the electronic side. We don't test nothing new in terms of aero package, chassis or engine. So I mean, we try to improve our package. I am happy. After the last part of the season, I'm quite tired, so I need to rest well, to have some rest day, and try to be back stronger, no? So yeah, I'm happy to end on the top in the test, but I don't care because in Japan will be everything come from zero, and we have to start the new season.
The work you did with the electronics, it was positive work. You think you found a step?
Not really. I mean, maybe because we spend a lot of time here, we make a lot of laps during the weekend. Maybe the test doesn't. We cannot take the test as something like a reference. I mean, we try something, but I think in the factory had some new things to try. We have to wait to see what they say, and after that we will see what Aprilia bring to us in Japan.
Well, thank you for joining us. I'll let you go and chat to the rest of the media. Have a good Christmas.
Thank you, same for everybody.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jack. Thanks to Raul Fernandez. This was the reason why. Poor Licky is a bit offline there. Look at the dirt and the dust that Aldeguer's front tyre kicked up there, as it wasn't pointing in the direction he wanted to. Well, it was pointing left, but it was tucking. Yes, Frankie Carcetti relieved that Fermin stayed upright and on two wheels there, because they didn't want to be closing out 2025 with a bit of a repair job on that number 54. So relief all round inside the Gresini Ducati garage. Yeah, Raul Fernandez, as Jack said, it's going to be a very happy winter break as far as Raul is concerned. What a Sunday the Fernandez brothers had here. Adrian winning for the first time in Moto3. And then Raul almost beating Marco Bezzecchi to the victory in the MotoGP race here in Valencia. We are still on air and continuing for about another 20 minutes or so here in Valencia after our delay this morning, when nothing really happened AM, did it, after the rain soaked this Ricardo Tormo circuit yesterday afternoon. We had to wait for it to dry up, so as a result there's been a 30-minute extension to the track time available here today. So the track will be open for time lapse and proper testing until 5:30 p.m. local time. It has just ticked to 5:10, so 20 minutes remaining. We'll stay on air for a further 20 minutes as the riders complete a practice start session, and then we will bid you all farewell and happy Christmas, because we're going to be all making our way back home as Apakah Bagnaia makes his way back around this Valencia circuit, having been our one and only faller of this opening day, although Aldeguer was very close to joining him.
Pedro Costa too almost joined him when he had that moment at turn 8 earlier on in the day. Apakah Bagnaia would not have wanted to end his 2025 in that manner. So he's coming out once more. Here comes Ai Ogura, looking to add further good news to what has already been a good news day for Trackhouse and for Aprilia, although he was also not exactly troubling the apex in the final corner there. It wasn't as wide or as troublesome as it was for Fermin Aldeguer, but will that have cost Ai Ogura more time? Well, he lost a quarter of a second to his teammate, but it is still the best lap of the day for the 79. He climbs a couple of spots into 11th place now.
Bagnaia back in. Still in 10th place. 16 riders have laps under the 90-second barrier here today. Quick check on the Yamahas. Fabio Quartararo 15th. Toprak Razgatlioglu, World Superbike King for the last 2 years on the factory BMW. Big shoes to fill as far as Danilo Petrucci and Miguel Oliveira are concerned in World Superbikes next season. Looks like Pecco Bagnaia is going to take advantage of every single second of this opening exchange of 2025. So too is Ogura. Good little stint this late on for the now former Moto2 world champion.
You can see the clear or the tinted visors that the riders now have at this stage of the day. You can see the eyes of Ai as he now approaches the final sector. As the sun getting very low now. Sunset's around about half an hour or so away here in Valencia. So Ai Ogura making sure he can see clearly, and a much cleaner run through the final corner that time for the 79, the former Moto2 champion, as we can now call him, with Diogo Moreira having taken that crown away from him. And Ogura continues to make climbs or make strides up the order. A 29.8, another personal best.
Yamaha's 15th, 18th, 19th and 20th. Hasn't exactly been a headline-grabbing start to the V4 era for their factory quartet next season. Yeah, big smile on his face. I'm sure he has enjoyed day one of his MotoGP career at Diogo Moreira. He'll have an understanding of what he needs to do physical preparation-wise now, having done what have been 57 really demanding laps. Nothing quite prepares you for the first ride on a MotoGP machine. Of course, Honda will go away and crunch the numbers. Maybe there'll be some ergonomic tweaks ahead of his next appearance on the bike in Sepang in late January at the shakedown test. Fabio Quartararo, then let's have a little listen to Fabio, shall we?
Let's not. Quartararo into turn 8 then. Yeah, we've had quite the habit of calling the jinx on that one today. Would have been quite interesting, wouldn't it, to listen to the different tone of the V4 versus the inline 4 as we run on board once again, this time looking into the eyes of the 2021 world champion. Now looking forwards, Quartararo through the second gear, turn 12, up a couple now into 4th through the fierce of turn 13, which Pedro Acosta is also negotiating. Yeah, 15th place for Fabio Quartararo. This is not a day really about headline lap times for Yamaha. This is all about getting as much data as they can to decide what next steps to take with this V4. And Fabio Quartararo, as I said a few moments ago, I think the one thing he's thinking about now that he could do with is a good night's rest.
When are they going to start being a little bit less conservative with that V4? Fabio Quartararo. We can ask somebody who will be able to give us an answer on that one, as Jack is joined by factory Yamaha boss Maio Meregali.
Yeah, great to be joined by Maio in the closing stages of today. Happy with the official debut of the V4 with all 4 riders. How has it gone?
Yeah, as you can imagine, we have a lot of work, and luckily tomorrow we have a private test because we have not able to do a lot of work today. And we for sure start gathering a lot of information. Tomorrow we have also new parts to evaluate. Some we already started today, but you know, the track time is not what we were looking for. So far we didn't have any issue. We cannot complain.
So did you expect a little bit more performance today?
No, today we briefed all the riders that more than the performance, we were really looking for to get some feedback and gather information. We know that anyway the level of the bike, the level, the timing. So it's not really matter to do lap times. This morning we did with the three, let's say, old rider, the first out and in with the old bike, just to check the track condition, also to get some confidence and some feelings, and then they all move to the new one. But as I said, as I started the interview, we have a lot of work in front of us, and that's not scary.
Since Fabio, Alex and Jack last tried the bike at the Misano test 2 or so months ago, how much has the bike changed?
Yeah, from today and tomorrow for sure there are different things and parts which overall apart of the engine we change. We have parts to evaluate on the chassis. We also have a different chassis, different aerodynamics, different other components related to the chassis. For sure, even tomorrow, if we start from 10 and we finish to 5, we will not probably evaluate all the parts. But let's say we have to really try to maximize this additional day to prepare the bike that we will test in Sepang.
We know that you haven't turned the engine up to 100% yet. When will that moment come?
Who said that?
Augusto.
No, yeah, as you can imagine, we don't have a lot of parts. So we are always trying to manage the parts that we have, and sometimes we don't use all the RPMs to try to make the mileage of the engine longer, but it's there where we are planning.
Will it be day one, round one, the moment where we can judge Yamaha's new V4? Is that the moment where we'll see the complete package for the first time?
I think you should have an idea when you make a completely new project. You can't expect the day one. It will be a long season, developing season, because it's really a new project. Even though we started maybe a little earlier compared to our initial expectation, but there are so many unknown things around this bike for us that we need to discover and then develop. For sure, I hope 6 months, maybe half season, will be enough to make some decent steps. But we already know what we expect. I mean, what we should expect.
Just finally, obviously Yamaha welcome Toprak Razgatlioglu to the family. First official day today, as you can see on screens. Fabio Quartararo just exiting pit lane for what I imagine will be his final laps of 2025. I'll let him go before we hear from you. Mayo, your thoughts of how the day has gone for Toprak on debut?
That's, in my opinion, very, very good. Toprak had already the possibility to test the bike a few days ago in Aragon. In my opinion, he jumped on this bike here in the middle of all the others without any. I didn't see him very nervous, and he did a good job today. I think he was able to made all the plan that was scheduled for today. In my opinion, he couldn't have a better start.
That's great to hear. It certainly is impressive. As you say, everyone has had a weekend at the track to get used to it. It's a new circuit for him, so must be pleased with how the day has gone. Mayo, thank you for your time. We'll catch up with you in the new year.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much for everything.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Factory Yamaha boss Mayo Marigali. Yeah, the message loud and clear from Yamaha. Data gathering, information gathering, that's what it's all about at the moment on that V4. Fabio Quartararo is the lead Yamaha. Looking at the top speeds once again of the fastest Yamaha through the speed trap. It is actually Razgatlioglu but he's 10 k's down on Marco Bezzecchi's factory. Aprilia, as the Wali factory seeks some extra top end.
Well, don't judge us just yet, will be the message from Yamaha, but ultimately on the opening weekend of the season in Buriram at the end of February and the 1st of March when we go racing on the first Sunday of the season next year, we will judge Yamaha for the ultimate progress that they've made with that V4 powered M1. And whilst you can understand why they will be talking their chances down for the first part of next season as they do develop that motorcycle, we are in a results business at the end of the day. And Fabio Quartararo is going to have to make a decision at some point as far as his future is concerned beyond 2026. And as much loyalty as Fabio Quartararo has shown to Yamaha, he's been with them either in their factory team or with the Petronas SRT squad since he came into MotoGP in 2019. So next year will be his 8th in MotoGP, all on board a Yamaha. Quartararo's loyalty is only going to go a little bit further before he's decided he's had enough, because he's had enough of not winning.
Almost feels like it's maybe time to seek some new motivation, maybe time to find a new challenge, just try something fresh. As far as Fabio Quartararo is concerned, Davide Brivio, Pablo Nieto, special guests here today, expecting some big shocks and some big surprises in the rider market. Well, will Fabio Quartararo be producing one of them? Here he is then, just coming down to the end of the last time we will see Fabio in 2025. He's back on track here tomorrow. Enea Bastianini at the moment under the radar, as he so often has been this season, down in 17th place. At least that podium in Catalonia meant he scored at least one podium in all of his 5 years in MotoGP, but it was a rather spectacular fall from grace as far as Enea is concerned, from the factory Ducati to a factory spec KTM. Just never really got going at all. 274 points less the beast scored compared to 2024. Qualifying was one of his real big issues. He's always had good race pace once again, has Enea, MotoGP's ultimate tyre whisperer, but 7 times last season he started 20th or lower. It was only in Q2 on 4 occasions. Frequently spoke, didn't he, of how much trouble he was having getting anything out of a Michelin soft rear tyre. Every resurgence where we thought, well, he's worked this out, he's clicked. The sprint podium in Brno, a couple of strong rides in Austria, 5th in the Grand Prix, then a double top 5 in Catalonia, and we thought maybe Enea might be fighting for wins at the back end of the season. Let's be frank, he never got even close, did he?
Here comes the beast, who we remind you is working with a new crew chief for 2026, which starts today. Andres Madrid is the new right-hand man for Enea, who of course was previously Brad Binder's crew chief in MotoGP. Of course, there are a few crew chief changes just to bring you up to speed with. Enea Bastianini, Brad Binder, Toprak Razgatlioglu, of course, a new crew chief for him, with Phil Maron now working with Brad Binder, Toprak's long-time crew chief in World Superbikes. And Toprak is now working with Alberto Girubiola, who was the long-time crew chief of various riders, of course, of Enea Bastianini through this season, and Redovizioso prior to that. And as we saw earlier on and heard from on the broadcast, Klaus Noles, the crew chief for Sumcat Chantra at LCR, he is the man who will be working with the Brazilian Diogo Moreira in his first rookie campaign.
5 minutes remaining of the longest year in MotoGP history. 22 rounds. Of course, we made returns to Hungary and to the Czech Republic this year. Back in Brazil in 2026, something that we're all looking forward to right at the start of next campaign. Taking full advantage of this extra half hour of track time available, Luca Marini just headed back out on the factory Honda. Bastianini, as you can see, or recently saw, the Gian Antonio, Aldeguer and Ogura, the only riders currently out on circuit. Fabio Quartararo's day is done, his campaign isn't. back on track with all the other Yamahas here tomorrow. Looks like, having finished 2025 with some flourish, the breakthrough victory in Phillip Island, brilliant podium here on Sunday in the Valencian Grand Prix. It does seem like, continuing his brilliant momentum, what a way to go into the winter break and sign off his breakthrough season in MotoGP. Raul Fernandez looks like he will be our fastest rider at this Valencia test, all courtesy of a 129.373, which might have been wrestled away from him, that top spot, had Fermin Aldeguer when he was on a really good lap, not ploughed a hole into the tarmac down the hill into turn 14, almost wiping out the front end of that Gresini Ducati late on. And there's Andres Madrid, who's trying to build up a new relationship with his new rider, Bastianini. As Brad Binder said, 10 years he'd been with Andres Madrid. So a big change for Andres and a big change for Binder as well. Binder's going to end this day in 9th.
Aprilia 1-2, Ducati 3-4, KTM 5-6. Does that give us a bit of a window into the pecking order in MotoGP as 2025 turns into 2026? Well, I guess ultimately we'll have to wait until we see a fully fit Marc Marquez once again to truly answer that question. That will remain the forever unanswered question of the final 5 Grand Prix or 4.5 Grand Prix of this season, is just where Marc Marquez would have been up against the rampant Marco Bezzecchi in the last 2 Grand Prix. But it's certainly very clear that as we end this 2025 season, Ducati's what felt like an impregnable advantage at the front of MotoGP has been closed down, either in part or completely, which does certainly fill us with hope and excitement that we will have a competitive 2026, where we've already seen this season 7 different winners across Ducati, across Aprilia, and also Honda, with Johann Zarco's win at Le Mans. More of the same, and hopefully even better in 2026.
Did have a little bit of a feeling end of season though that while the top cat was away, the mice were having their play. Marc Marquez, we know how good he is on anti-clockwise circuits, doesn't really have any kind of weakness, does he, Marc? Missed Phillip Island, missed Valencia. Not saying that the outcome would be any different, but you know that they were 2 banker tracks where Marc was going to be right in the game. We heard that he's going to be trying to work on improving right-hand corners. Well, if he figures out right-hand corners, which is the strong point of his brother Alex, well, then you know that the field have got big bother. 4th rider to move to MotoGP as a reigning World Superbike champion. Colin Edwards did it in the past. Alex Marquez then, what a season he had. Absolutely brilliant was Alex. 27 podiums all told. 15 in the sprints. He really did deliver on so many occasions on sprint Saturdays, didn't he? Well, sprint Saturdays, the first 10 of them was not just about 2 riders, it was all about one family and one set of siblings, because Marc and Alex in the first 10 sprints of the season were 1st and 2nd. It was an astonishing run, as they sent out a message clearly to the MotoGP field that they were going to be the top pairing in 2025. Who will be top of the pile though in 2026? Valencia and the Ricardo Tormo circuit falls silent, as now we are about to end 2025 and the opening date of 2026, going into the winter break on a high. After finishing 2025 on a high, he starts 2026 on top of the pile. It's Trackhouse Aprilia's Raul Fernandez then, who kicks off the new campaign in some style. A 129.373, leading home in Aprilia 1-2. Roles reverse between Fernandez and Bezzecchi from Sunday's 27-lap Grand Prix here in Valencia. That's all the timed action completed here in Valencia. Still to come though is a 15-minute practice start session, which several riders, it seems like, are going to be involved in, including our double winner to sign off 2025, Marco Bezzecchi. We're keeping a close eye on the rookies, won't we, as well? I'm sure Top Track Baz Gatlioglu in some of the behind closed doors private testing, he has been practice starting on the YZR M1. New experience, though, coming up for Diogo Moreira, that's for sure.
His eyes will be out on stalks. He'll be, I guess, being briefed on all the different procedures and pre-start checks that he has to go through before launching one of these beasts off the line. There's Jack Miller. Now he and Toprak perhaps going to have their first stoppy competition. We shall see. Because they're certainly going to be bringing the entertainment next season. It's a press officer and a social media editor's dream. Toprak Razgatlioglu and Jack Miller as teammates. And here comes Toprak, ready for his final action of this Valencia test. Next time we see Toprak, it will be in Malaysia next season, as he gives a little bit of a kick to our cameraman, who was getting as close as they could to El Turco. It'll start to come then for him.
Not bad at karate as well, is he, by the looks of it? His old Toprak heading out on circuit. A massive challenge coming the way for the Turk. Not just is MotoGP a completely different ball game, machinery-wise, tyre change, of course, but World Superbikes runs over a 12-round calendar. Next year he'll be going almost at double the length in season, as we will once again repeat our longest season history, 22 rounds. Yeah, 22 races, 22 Grand Prix and 22 sprints next year. It's going to feel like the calendar will be a lot longer as far as Toprak is concerned, which will certainly affect his physical preparation.
Yeah, you're right to bring up the different weekend format that he's going to have to get used to. World Superbikes, they do go qualifying like here on a Saturday morning with their Super Pole session, but Friday is going to bring a lot more pressure and a lot more scrutiny for Toprak this season. It is unforgiving in MotoGP with the sprint format. You need to be on the pace from the get-go. Once a race weekend gets underway, you can see how dark it is now getting on the main straight. Just about enough daylight left for a few practice starts here.
You can see that Aprilia have sent out Marco Bezzecchi on the new aero, so very keen to just see the impact of the new fairing, the new seat unit in terms of start mode for Bezzecchi. Clean as a whistle that looked like, didn't it, as he powered that experimental RSGP away from the grid.
Decent start that for Diogo Moreira, just coming through the front of the picture there on the 11. And here comes Toprak, making sure he's the start device is engaged. And number 7, it's ready to launch.
Gil's Aprilia was glued to the tarmac there as he dropped the clutch on that RSGP. So too was Anea Bastianini's KTM. Well, he grabbed a handful of throttle. He hasn't got something hasn't been engaged properly, has it? Launch control was not activated. Let's try take 2 for Toprak. That was better. Yes, it's a bit of a mental minefield as the riders come to the grid. There's so many system checks they have to contend with, so many buttons you've got to press. It's like playing a PlayStation game before you've even dropped the clutch on these modern-day MotoGP machines. Whole shot devices, launch controls, you name it. It's a complicated pre-race procedure that the riders have to contend with. Jack standing on pit wall and got some additional thoughts. Jack, down to you.
Yeah, it reminded me exactly what we saw with Marc Marquez in Mugello. I remember that day. Was that in the sprint, I think it was? When he was lining up on pole position, did exactly what Toprak did there, blipped the throttle and it revved all the way through, and then Marquez somehow had the presence of mind in just a matter of moments to get the launch control activated, look up, see the lights go out, and only drop a couple of places. Incredible reflexes from that Marquez.
Yeah, it just showed the clarity of thinking in the high-pressure situations. That start from Mark in Mugello. Good recall there, Jack. Very good recall indeed, as Fabio Quartararo then powers the V4 Yamaha away from the starting grid. So too is fellow Yamaha rider Jack Miller. Front wheel starting to lift in the air as he went through the gears. Starting exceptionally well, isn't it, in the hands of Marco Bezzecchi. We couldn't say the same about him over in Mandalika, which was a sort of botched start in the Grand Prix, which put him behind Marc Marquez, which, what a sequence of events that was. Fate conspiring against Marquez. Bezzecchi hashed the start, and events that there followed 7 corners later ended Marc Marquez's World Championship winning campaign.
Toprak take 2 then. Another copybook start really. Just saw once again the front wheel very slightly off the ground and just skipping some smoke as it touched back down onto the tarmac. 2 pretty good starts in the end once he'd got top of everything for Toprak.
Jack, back down to you.
Yeah, and as you can imagine, already there is a throng of cameras down by the Prima Pramac Yamaha box because everybody is anticipating the same image, which we're hopefully going to be treated to very shortly.
Yes, are we going to get the world-renowned trademark signature rolling Toprak stoppie as he comes back into the garage for Jack Miller? See, there was Jack's trying to get the hold shot device engaged.
Finish line is in sight, Jack. Don't crash now.
We've already had our start line dramas this weekend in Valencia after what happened to poor old Frankie Morbidelli as he came to his grid position, losing concentration and hitting the back of Alex Marquez's factory Honda. The subsequent damage to Frankie Morbidelli's left hand, ruling him out of this all-important first test of 2026, and the damage suffered to Alex Marquez's RT213V. That cost him the chance to shine in the final Grand Prix action of the season.
As day now turns to dusk at the Ricardo Thomas circuit. Jack Miller is now back at the pits, explaining just what happened there to the team. Toprak is continuing on for at least one more practice start, so he's keeping the photographers waiting for at least another lap before we see what we hope will be the trademark Toprak stoppie to round off his first public day as a MotoGP rider. Marco Bezzecchi ending the weekend how he started it, on pole position.
He's nailed those 3 starts, says Bezzecchi. Absolutely nailed them. Superb. Right, come on, Toprak. We've given you the big billing. We're giving you top spot here. Do not let us down when you come back into pit lane at the end of this practice start session. How good are you on the old stoppies on a Michelin front tyre? Because on a Pirelli front tyre in World Superbikes, he was ridiculous. Like a stunt rider, isn't he, old Razgat the Oglu? Trey Divizio. So he's part of the awaiting arrival party for Toprak. Even the factory Yamaha crew are eagerly anticipating the number 7's arrival.
Paolo Pavesio was just off to our right as we looked there, and he's, of course, now the managing director of Yamaha Motor Racing, and he was certainly one of the instrumental figures in bringing Toprak across from World Superbikes to MotoGP.
Fabio Quartararo taking full advantage. Of course, not a lot of experience in terms of starting that new V4 motor. Beautiful, beautiful. Love the way Quartararo, he's got such a kind of unique style on that Yamaha, the way that he just chucks all of his weight over the front end, clambers and crawling all over the front, just trying to, with his own natural body weight, use sort of a physical anti-wheelie system, isn't it? It's Quartararo. Alex Rins also then charges away. What's happened to Alex here in the background? Oh,
blimey.
Boy, he locked the front, didn't he? A bit like Jack Miller. 2 Yamahas have almost been on the deck here in this grid. This is just a consequence of no sunshine now available here in Valencia. The track temperature will be plummeting by the second. Scary for both Miller and Rins.
Yeah, Alex Rins, with the Christmas break in sight, very nearly not only injured himself, but trashed an M1. The V4s, which they've been so keen to get to the end of the day in one piece. They have just about done it.
Marco Bezzecchi did 3 practice. Here we go. Here we go. He did it. There's going to be plenty more of that in 2026 without any question. I think with a bit more experience, we're going to see him start that stoppie about 50 metres further up pit lane. Brilliant to watch. Danny Pedrosa, when he joined us in the commentary box earlier on today, likened the sort of X factor of Razgat Lioglu, likened him to Kevin Schwantz with his, some compliment that, isn't it? Kevin Schwantz was not only an incredible world champion, part of our Hall of Fame, of course, in 2025. He was so spectacular. A fan favourite was the Texan, and I'm sure Toprak Razgat Lioglu will very, very quickly emerge as a fan favourite in MotoGP, just as he was in World Superbikes. 2025 ended brilliantly for Marco Bezzecchi. It started pretty positively as well, hasn't it, for the Italian? Second fastest. Excellent ending to the season as far as Aprilia are concerned. First and second in the Grand Prix on Sunday, third and second in the test. There was the photo of Santa Claus in the background. Well, it will be a very Merry Christmas as far as Bezzecchi is concerned. He will enjoy his winter break.
I think we all caught that one from Alex Rins. Apologies to all of you at home for the language. Yep, I think we echo those sentiments. I think we were thinking the same, even if we weren't saying it out loud when we saw that front end lock.
Well, there's nothing wrong with Alex's English slang, is there? No. He knows exactly how to express himself with some choice English language. Yes, it was a pretty scary moment for Alex Rins. I mean, we can laugh and joke about it now, but at the time, this is Alex. He's trying to... He looked like he wasn't really carrying a lot of brake pressure there, as well as he comes to the grid to try and engage the whole shot device. Yes, Alex relieved. yeah. Did not want to end and start, well, did not want to end 2025 and start 2026, did he, with a crash coming to the grid for a practice start. Over 3.5 million fans joined us in our record-breaking 2025 World Championship campaign. Before we get the final standings, a heartfelt thanks to every single one of you. Yeah. We hope you have enjoyed a unforgettable 2025. So many moments, so many memories for us all to enjoy. We thank you for your company. We can't wait to do it all over again in 2026. Just a few weeks before the MotoGP field will be back on track over in Sepang in early February. But it is Raul Fernandez that will close out 2025 and start 26 on top.
Less than a second, covered the top 17 today. Raul Fernandez and Marco Bezzecchi in Aprilia 1-2. Alex Marquez and Fermin Aldeguer, Gresini, Ducati 3-4. Pedro Costa and Marco Vinales for KTM 5 and 6. Digiet 7th from Nicolo Buliga, Brad Binder and Pecco Bagnaia, who had a little spill at turn 2. Ogura next up in 11th ahead of Miyazaki, Marini and Quartararo, who got into the 29s late in the day. Jorge Martin will be hoping for a much better 2026. 16th ahead of an Abash Nuni. Toprak 18th on a 1:30.6, just 1.2 seconds off the pace. Alex Rins and Jack Miller behind him, as was Diogo Moreira at 31.1 for him on his LCR debut. 1.8 off the pace. Celestino Vietti got those 24 laps in midway through the day as a present for VR46 in place of the injured Frankie Morbidelli.
Okay, thanks for your company as 2026 MotoGP is well and truly underway. Raul Fernandez, fastest. We will see you in 2026 for what promises to be another special and spectacular MotoGP World Championship campaign. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next year. Have a great winter and a great Christmas. Thank you very much.